minute. Got 2 copies of that open. That's not going to work. Okay. Boy, am I blue. Well, looks like I'm live. Alright, guys. I'm sorry I'm such a weird color today. For some reason, the light that we have in the sky is turning me blue, and I'm wearing a blue shirt, so that's probably not helping. But I'm here. So we'll just sort of pretend I'm the normal color and not the strange off-the-wall kind of thing, whatever it happens to be. So, alright guys. Not sure exactly how I'm doing this at the moment. Toggle, pop out. There we go. This seems to work better right now. So I will put that up there. We had fun this week. Lost the internet for about 36 hours. You find out how much you depend on it when it's suddenly gone. It's like, poof, there it was. No TV shows, nothing to watch. Hi, Violet. Are you all moved in now? I think you are, right? Hi, Rita. Sorry about my strange blueness. Ian's going to try and be in here for at least a while. He's having a bad day with his hernia. We see the doctor tomorrow. So hopefully we'll be able to get the surgery scheduled and get this taken care of, so it's not going to be a continuation of the same issue all the time. Poor guy. Yes, Violet has moved in. All right. I am so blue. The wall is purple, and I'm wearing a blue shirt, and I think, and the sky is dim, and the lights are on, but yeah, I'm just blue. Apparently. I wanted to be blue today. So I don't know what we want to talk about. Since we lost the internet, I couldn't get my video chat, the weekly video up until just a few minutes ago before we started our live show. So, but I was inspired to do one on, that whole phrase, magic has a price. So that's what the newest video that we've uploaded is about. And we see that in every TV show about magic ever produced. Tanya says, the blueness gives an under the water vibe. Yeah, that's it. I'm under the water. This is my water element. Violet says, I think it will take me a whole year to get settled. When I signed into Chrome, it said something about YouTube using a new background. And I think this is our camera, though, not YouTube itself, but I don't know.
Yeah, it sure is blue, though.
It's extremely blue. It's like, that's the best we could get it, so you could see my face. Otherwise, it was going to go away completely. I know I'm not usually blue, but,
Let's see if you can adjust the hue a little bit.
I already tried that. I can try that again.
So the walls look more purple.
Yeah, well, let's see. Is that under Edit? Filters? Or
Filters.
That says Copy Filters. That's not what I want.
Video Capture. Filters.
Okay, so it's not under the OBS thing?
It's under Video Capture and Filters.
I see. Okay. If I can get out of that. I have to open that up. So, let's see.
Color correction. You got that far. Here, let me put this full screen. Maybe it'll be easier to... First, it'll take it a minute. Sorry, can't do it from that angle for some reason. Of course, it'll take a minute from when you change it till it shows up here, since we got a time delay, but
I think I'm in the wrong spot. This is what shows up in here. Backlight compensation exposure.
Okay. You went to properties. You didn't go to filters.
This is what came up when
here,
I clicked on it.
That'll work like that more or less. Right click. Sorry. Filters.
Okay. There you are.
Color correction.
Go down to hue.
Yep.
Hue shift. Up or down.
Well, I'm not sure which way. You just drag it.
You're on purple.
Yes, you are.
Well,
Should probably try to get the walls kind of purplish.
well, there you can see me a little bit better.
Yes.
I'm still
you can see
blue.
on mine.
Okay, we'll do that.
You might turn the contrast up just a smidgen, I was going to say, but
I tried that and it was, no. Yeah. I don't want to exit. Okay. Purple was fun, they said. Okay. Hi, Jonathan. Violet says it was such a huge move. I've been gone 2 whole months, I think. Sorry about that. Jonathan says, hi, everyone. We're blue. Yes, we're still blue, but at least we're less blue than we were a minute ago. Tanya says, seeing you changing colors, you're magical like the horse in the Wizard of Oz. I got a rainbow thing going. I liked purple as well. Yes, purple is my favorite color. So, all right. So our news, besides Ian going to see the doctor tomorrow and hopefully getting a surgery scheduled at least, Ian's sister decided to show up this week and kind of throw us into a yell and scream at him. She waited till I was gone. I think she's afraid of me. And then, tried to scream at Ian and think that would work to get us to let her back in the house. Anyway, we had to have her trespassed. We called the police because we just can't handle that. It means she's still here. So we've been a little bit on edge for a few days after that. We're feeling more calm now, so that's good. But yeah. So that's our news. Ryder says hello. Hi, Ryder. Johnson says hi, Ryder. Yeah, so like I was saying, since we lost the internet for so long, we didn't get our video up until just recently. So whatever you guys want to talk about is fine by me. Of course, we always have that anyway. Tanya says, oh, what drama, that sucks. Yes, it does. It doesn't seem like she's getting any better. And Ryder says, oh no, hope you and Ian are okay. Yeah, when I came back, I arrived 5 minutes after she left, and Ian was shaking like a leaf when I came in. And fortunately, I had just been to buy Mert, and they have a weekly contest on Tuesdays, and my number ended in the number 3, so I won some chocolate-covered orange sticks. It was like, so we ate those pretty quick. So it was like, yay, I won something, and we need it now. Okay. So yeah, and we're actually going to have my granddaughter move in with us for a while. So that'll be a completely different kind of situation. She's down here now, and she's not going to be the same kind of a guest as Ian's sister because she's not psychotic, which helps a great deal. Mert says hello. Hi, Mert. So, and Rita says, sorry that happened to you all. Yeah, we were hoping she was getting better, but apparently not. So it's like we're locking more doors, the usual, making sure everything is battened down before we go to bed at night. So, yeah, it's one of those out of the blue, you just never know for sure. But having my granddaughter here was kind of fun. She hasn't moved in all the way yet, but sitting out in our living room for about half an hour, 45 minutes or so. She's like, wow, I haven't been this relaxed and I can't remember when. And I said, aside from the occasional psychotic person arriving at our door, we are in a basically drama-free household. So, all right, so Tanya says, well, this question might be on topic. What do you recommend when going through challenging times that will provide positivity and increase hope? That is sort of on topic. Perspective is definitely one of the things to remember. If you've had enough experiences with something, then you can look at the fact that you've made it through other similar past experiences and come out the other side and are okay. So that can help to keep that perspective and overview and to remember that nothing lasts forever and change is the only constant in the universe. Things are constantly changing from one state or form to another. And so working on changing things so it works better for you in a more positive direction is usually the best way to figure out a solution to whatever's happening. Canary says, hello, hello. I like the blue background. Yes, it was an accident. Jonathan says, hi, Canary. Canary says, I've been on the wine today. Ooh, nice. So you're relaxing. That's a good thing. Ryder says, hello to Canary. Hello. Now I'm going to remember John O. He helped me understand how that's pronounced, so that's always good. Hope you've had a good week. And Spirit Incarnate just arrived. Hi. Hi, Siofra and Ian and everyone else. Hi, Spirit Incarnate. So, yeah, I have a client who's having difficulty getting someone off of her property, family who moved in to a building that she has and now refused to leave. And so I made the hot foot powder for her situation, and she used it, and it hasn't made them leave yet, but because she used that, her son contacted her and volunteered to assist. So she's getting like help from somewhere else. The universe, in my opinion, when you're doing magical workings and stuff, it doesn't always come out exactly how you planned or the way you intended, but it's a communication process with the universe to let the universe know, hey, this is a situation and I'm pretty serious about resolving it. And then she accepted his help. So I think that this is moving forward in a positive direction, and I think that's because she was focusing her attention on that, and that's why. Yes, thank you, Jonathan. I said it correctly. I said, if there was a real magical attack on my person, does it eventually peter out? I feel I'm in a new happy place, but I never know what to expect anymore for all that happened at the previous home.
And yes, they do generally peter out if somebody doesn't keep reinforcing them.
Right, because most of them aren't one time and that's it for the rest of your life kind of thing. So if they get distracted by some new project they're working on, they're going to not be putting as much energy into it anyway. So, hopefully. And Ryder says, at Canary, just woke up in time for now, was drifting in and out of sleep laying on the couch. Aha. Jonathan says, that's fine and understandable, Ian. Canary says, I tried to make the people in the flat next to me shut up. Next day, the girl got arrested. Well, sounds like it worked.
Well, they must have been doing something to get arrested.
Well, so, yeah, no kidding. Canary says at Ryder, yep, even when I'm tired, I goots to be here. Okay. It's always nice to have you guys around. We really appreciate it. It helps our week. We look forward to this. And we just had a person come from out of town who was once in our group and spent some time with her and went to a restaurant for the first time since COVID where it was packed and there were a lot of people there. So I'm a little anxious about that and hoping that everyone who was in there was vaccinated and I don't have to worry. But yeah, that was slightly anxiety producing being inside there for such a long period of time for me, I know. And we'll see what happens. But we're taking care of ourselves as well as we can.
Thank you, Ryder.
I hope you won't be too quiet. Love your presence and input. Yes. Depends on how he feels, so hopefully he'll keep feeling good. He is okay at the moment. Mert says, do you speak Turkish even a little? I would be very happy. You have a follower from Turkey. You are loved. Well, I'm so happy. Thank you very much. And no, I'm not multilingual. The only language I know a little bit of is French, and that was from high school. So I'm sorry. I wish I spoke multiple languages all the time, but I don't. Vanessa Pettyjohn says, hey, should I get back on my manager? He has a weird liking towards me, but I'm underage and he's a narcissist that has crossed the line. I quit because of him. Now work at a law firm. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking for. If you've reported him, hopefully someone is taking your report seriously, because that's not okay. Whether you were underage or not, seriously not okay being underage, but any kind of behavior like that, crossing the line with an employee, is not okay, and obviously that means he's a predator. So, Violet says, well, it should have been only minor attack to be rid of me, and I know they did that, so I never make another purchase or contact again. Okay. Mert says, Llamas. Yes, it's coming up. Like, in a few days. Today is the 25th, and in a week. About, I guess, next week will be when Llamas Lunasaw is taking place. I did put up a video about that, so it's in with the other videos on the different Sabbats that we celebrate and so forth. Canary says, I bought a book on Arthurian magic. I wanted a different one that looked more like rituals and spell work, but kept being more drawn to this other one, and it's not what I wanted. Aww, I'm sorry. That's always disappointing when you have an idea in your head of what you're looking for and it doesn't meet your criteria in your head. Yeah. So maybe you need to get the original one you were looking at. Maybe that will be better. Writer says, merci. Yes, merci to you too. Taylor says, hello, happy to be here. Hi, Taylor. Vanessa says, I just want to do a spell to give him back his energy. But I am scared because I've never hexed before. Well, giving back their energy is not a hex, in my opinion. That's a different kind of magic altogether. That's an unbinding that you're talking about, and there's a couple of different ways you can do it. And, releasing his energy back to him, you can, if you feel like there's still something connecting you, you can do a physical thing where you have like a ribbon or something that represents the connection between you and the other person, and then you focus and concentrate and physically actually cut that connection, and then take that other part of the cord away from you and go bury it in the ground somewhere off your property. That'd be one way of doing it. Some people use candle magic to disconnect from a relationship, and you can either do that like every day, and as the candle gets lower, any energy that you might still have or connection you have with them decreases. This would be a good time since we just had a full moon, and so as the moon gets smaller and smaller and smaller, then his effect on you or energy in you gets smaller and smaller and smaller, so you can sort of tag it into that celestial energy that's happening. You would write on the candle his name, and then send back, or unbind from me, or what words visualize in your head what it is you're looking for. Anoint it with some oil. You can use a white candle or a black candle. White's good for just about anything. And, so that's what I would recommend for that. And that's not a hex. You're just sending back the energy that he put in you that you don't want anymore. And it's your right not to accept energy from anybody. That's called boundaries, which we talk about a lot. So this is a way of reinstituting your boundaries. All right. So Ryder bought the 5,000 spell book. So did Violet. Yes, and I use that fairly often. Canary says, yeah, I think so. I don't know what my guides or whatever keep telling me to get the other one are playing at. Don't drop the book on your toe. Canary says,
it is big.
It is a very large book. Yes, you do not want to drop that on your toe.
At least the hardcover version, for sure.
Writer says, let us know if it's any good. It is. You have to be careful with it, though, because it doesn't really give you warnings about a lot of stuff. You have to use your sense, your personal ethics and thinking things through to decide if it's a good idea. And the mirror box spell is actually for a little more, well, with him, maybe that would be a good idea, because that would make people, I often use that to make the truth come out so that karma comes quicker. So that might not be a bad idea. Violet says, I thought Ian Coyote was Siofra's Ian. Yes, he is. It came from Amazon England, I think. The book, 5,000 Spell book. All right. When I first saw this book, I saw this at somebody's house, and I said, ooh, I think I'd like that. He says, well, it's not in print anymore, and you can't get it anymore, and, that's not, going to be happening. And then I went to a bookstore, and there it was. And, he lied. He wanted to be mysterious and make it sound like he had something no one else could get.
That's exactly it.
Yes. There's definitely a lot of stuff in there. Canary says, I use the mirror box spell. Persons seem to get worse. Well, that's because they're acting out, right? The reason they're getting worse is because it's going to become more obvious. It's like their behavior might become more and more outrageous until people who are supposed to notice these things and take care of the issue. So I don't know that that's a bad thing. Hold on here. I need to go back up there a bit. Never use it because the ingredients are ridiculous, like a bird's nest. I'm not climbing no trees. Well, there's other spells in there and ingredients that aren't ridiculous, so you have to keep looking. Violet says, I want to make a good spell to get a new nice neighbor. Any thoughts? I don't know. Any ideas?
Yeah. They might try something my thought was would be sweet grass towards the place where she wants a new neighbor or something to
trying to make positive energy, because negative people tend not to like positive energy
to it.
Yeah, so that might be an idea. Bury a piece of selenite near it. Bring in the light. Ryder says, I have 3 nests. I tend to find them after strong winds. Yes, Jonathan says, the 5,000 spell book was amazing. Gave me a real jump start. Excellent purchase. Ryder, how? Canary says. Desert Rodham says, wanted to ask about different ways to seal a portal or vortex. Okay, so.
Stick of dynamite? Sorry.
Ian just walked out the door and said, a stick of dynamite. Him and his sense of humor. So, the way I seal a portal, when I find an open portal, like in a house or something like that, or even out, if I first can take care of why it got open in the first place, like if there's a spirit that's there that didn't cross over or whatever, but, take care of the core issue, and then close the portal. But I tend to figure out which way the portals will either be clockwise or counterclockwise. You never know for sure which way they're going to be. And so I stand first, near the portal and see which way my energy moves with it. And then I know which way it's going. And then I focus, usually using one of my wands, whether it's the selenite wand or the banishing wand or my staff sometimes. And I start on the outside of the portal, and then I walk in the opposite direction. And as I walk around, I get around closer and closer to the center, so I'm just kind of winding it back down until I stop and I'm in the center, and then it's closed. So that's one of the methods that I use, and it seems to work really well, so I know that one works. Writer Jonathan says, I hope so. I'm well excited about it. Writer says, the Canary, I don't know. I just find them on the floor when I go out for walks. Jonathan says, at Writer, there are so many great ideas in that book. It really sparks creativity. Canary says, yeah, I took the name out because I was worried person was going to do something very stupid and I didn't want to be the cause for any harm. Violet says, I have sweetgrass and selenite. Awesome. Canary says, never seen one on the floor. I think she means the floor of the woods, not the floor, but that's kind of my idea. Yes, a stick of dynamite. Stardust says, how do you know if there's an open portal? Well, I feel them, and a lot of times things are coming through them. Some hauntings, that's one of the things that happens. People either, they can open up for various reasons, a lot of people think they open them up with Ouija boards, and I'm not sure if that happens as often as everybody says, because, opening up a portal between the worlds is actually a rather momentous thing. It's not just a casual thing any teenager can do sitting in a chair with a Ouija board that doesn't know anything about magic. But, people like to scare themselves, so what do I know? Canary says at Stardust, the likelihood is you'll know if they're long enough, can get dizzy, feel heavy, depending on the spirits that come through. Yeah. That's the thing. And there are certain geographic features that make portals more likely to happen. Anywhere where streams are crossed underneath a house, for example, creates a sort of chaotic energy that then can become like a portal. Also can be very disruptive to the human body. It can cause illnesses and things like that because the cross streams down there sort of mess with our with our electromagnetic field, our aura, and that kind of thing. And people who are living on something like that often are having nightmares and are feeling uncomfortable or woozy and don't know why, and that kind of thing. And oil is another one. Oil makes me feel nauseous. It's disconnects me from earth energy. So if I go across a field that has oil in it, then I'll feel this weird sensation in my stomach. And that's how water witching works. It's there's an attraction to that. That's one of the things that Ian can do and I can do is water witching. And, just taking a forked stick and finding water. And I knew a dowser, someone who did it professionally. And that's kind of an interesting thing in and of itself because it's it is really sort of like a paranormal kind of thing, and yet it is wholeheartedly embraced and accepted by farming communities around the world because they need water and they need someone to tell them where to dig a well. So it's kind of an interesting thing to me. So Violet says, I often wonder if I did that accidentally, opened a portal, but it's helpful to hear you say it's not willy-nilly deal. Well, when I did when I learned how to open up a portal just whenever I need one, the first time I did it was 14 people in the middle of a thunderstorm doing a ritual, and I used a whole cone of power to pierce the veil between our world and the next to help this warrior, a group of warriors who'd been killed in a battle, Native Americans, and help them cross over because they were stuck and they were causing problems. It's yeah. But anyway, that would be that. Canary says, I can tell I've been on wine. Good. Sometimes we need to relax. There's nothing wrong with relaxing. So, no matter what kind of work we're doing, thinking about consequences is one of the important things to do, for sure. And the thing is sometimes people worry about the wrong kind of consequences, or they think there's more dire consequences than there actually are, and that's often fed by, movies and TV shows and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's interesting. Very cool on the portal information. Canary says, go back. Ryder says, I went swimming in a river the other day. It was fantastic and an excellent way to cool off after such hot weather. Very cleansing. Yeah, water is good. I like water. Canary says, I had a situation once where an entity human spirit kept opening a portal from someone's Ouija board jewelry box. It must have been attached somehow. Very cool on the portal information. Jonathan says, Canary, now I'm curious what text you've been sending that your autocorrect goes to Licky. You'll never know. Oh, John-O. John-O. Yeah, so, yep, sometimes mundane things are the things you need to do. Sometimes magical things combined with mundane things. Sometimes magical things are the only things that work. So, but it is amazing. where there's hauntings, there's definitely often open portals. And then there's the ley lines that cause issues for people living in a path of a ley line. The energy is sort of like being in the middle of a river of energy all the time, and it's just sort of exhausting for humans, which is why I found out ways to pull them down underneath the house and back up the other side, so because you can't like stop them, because they belong there, but you can divert them a little bit to give a little island of calm for the people who are living in the house. Ryder says, are these portals you are talking about different from the Lionsgate portal due on the 8/8 in August? I think that's one of those space news portal thingies, and yes, probably. I'm not familiar with that one, though. Canary says at Bright Night, no, it was a jewelry box with a Ouija board style at the top. About due. Yeah, it is, I've heard. But they're always having new ones pop up and telling us about them. I think about every year there's something going on like that. I'm still waiting for the results. It takes a long time, apparently, to get the actual results of these things. But if they're in space, there's nothing you can do about them. Closing or opening or whatever, if that's the case. Tell me more. Yeah, very different. Lionsgate is a natural portal. Violet says, maybe I was in the path of a ley line at Tiny Town. Oh my lordy, the elements were knocking me flat over there. The water kept coming at me from all sides, fire and ice too. Well, maybe you were, since, unless somebody is sensitive to what that specific energy feels like, you might not know it. And it could be that they built the house on a ley line. That would be very disconcerting and uncomfortable and miserable for a lot of people. Even non-magical people would have difficulty. I'm still waiting on this new Earth business. Yeah, I think we need to make our new Earth. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. It's like, and I like last Sunday after our live show, I think I ended by telling you all that there were a group of witches in Oregon and around Oregon and Washington. They were going to do some weather magic to try and make it rain. And as if you know anything about our weather, it didn't work because there has been no rain, except in Colorado, I think, where they had a massive flood because too much rain happened. So, sometimes weather workings can be tricky. And the end of time. I recommend going on Google and looking up. They have an entire Wikipedia file on Doomsday Predictions, and looking at that and seeing how much it has increased in recent times, how many more Doomsday Predictions there are, and how it started off one every few centuries, and and then it's just and then it just exploded. So it's sort of an interesting look at what humans focus on and what they're worried about and what they're expecting to see. So Rita says, done the water witching when I was a child while the man was on my grandpa's farm finding water. He let all of his kids try, and I was the only one that could do it. Cool memory. Yeah, it is kind of interesting, especially when you're walking and the sticks just this sudden pull and they go down. It's not like you're doing anything to them, not like you're pretending that they're going down. They actually just pull straight down, and then it's like, this is the spot. So yeah, cool. And Canary says, I gave up with the more new age style stuff. Don't think it's for me. Everyone is obsessed with everyone dying. Well, I guess yeah. Taylor says, are there games I could play to recognize my natural abilities? Well, if you're working with other people, you could always try guessing cards or something like that, but just experimenting and working on yourself, you'll probably figure out what your natural abilities are. I'm not sure. It's a good question, though. I'll give that some thought. Ian's not back yet, or may not be back. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Violet says, I think the end of time for me will be fun. It will be like living in a starry rainbow. Well, one of the things that I've thought about a lot when I was first starting out was the whole notion of people trying to become ascended and leave the earth behind. And what did that mean for the rest of the people that are here? And what does that mean for the earth? And I decided that I wasn't interested in trying to get off the wheel of reincarnation, because if every one of us who does that then abandons the planet, then there's no one here to share information and to help other people to sort of, recognize their responsibility for what goes on around them. And that's one of the reasons I became a pagan, because of, the earth is my focus, the life force, the planet, and everything around it. And trying to become enlightened so that I don't have to be here anymore is definitely not my goal in any way, shape, or form. So it's sort of interesting to think about. At Violet, Canary says, why though? Why does everyone have to die and finish it all? Well, see, that's what I was saying. Taylor says, thank you. Just curious if there was anything like that. And Taylor, at Ryder, thanks. Haha. Violet says, I like that, Siofra. You are so grounded. Such an earthy sign. I had to really work for that, though. But it's true, It's like, okay, I'm out of here. The rest of you, boil in oil. I don't care. It's like, there we go. If we all wanted to leave Earth and that was the whole idea, why would we come here in the first place? Well, that's another good question, another good point. And something I thought about years back was, hey, if that was the goal, was for all of us to get enlightened and not have to come back, we could just stop having kids and it'd take about 3-4 generations tops and we'd all be gone. We'd be extinct. And everyone would be a spirit. Ta-da! Everything's accomplished. Me, pragmatic. So Tanya says that, Taylor, I read in one of the witch books I have that every day try to make some sort of prediction for yourself or for someone else. Even if it doesn't happen, you are exercising psychic senses. All right. Violet says, I think the goal is to anchor star nations in this reality and measure time differently. So I'm manifesting a dream. Well, whatever we can do in order to become more truly ourselves, I'm in favor of. Whatever words we use to describe it. Canary says, I think the goal is to just learn from experience here and get a unique perspective, kind of like a personality test. Violet says, ha ha ha, no kids. Yeah, that's right, no kids. Jan B says, 3:33 p.m. Hello all, hi. So you must be an hour away from me. Because mine says it's 2:33 when you came in. Jonathan says, I know a guy who is obsessed with the end times. I think it's a subconscious excuse to not put effort into this life moment. Well, that's one of the consequences, I think, of either one of those things. Either the world's going to come to an end and I'm going somewhere else, or I'm going to be enlightened and I'm going to go somewhere else. In either mindset, there's that potential to not have to take care of or care about what's happening here because you don't plan on being around. So why should you worry about it? And it's not your responsibility. That's what I think anyway, so taking care of the earth seems like a wise and truly good thing to try and do. Taylor says that Tanya sounds interesting. I get anxious when it comes to practicing things, but thank you, sounds like fun if I choose something simple. Violet says, aw. Taylor says, sometimes I feel like my dreams give me hints about the future, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I think that is actually one of the places we get most of our information about stuff if we're paying attention. Either dreams about things that are coming, or dreams that tell us about situations that we're in, and that there's something we need to pay attention to and do something about. So they're important parts of our communication network. Canary says, I bet you anything if there is an end times, it will be humans that cause it anyways. Well, you think? Like, yeah, we're sort of doing that right now. Was it during the first heat dome? They registered 118 degree temperature in the Arctic Circle for the first time ever. That's not normal. So, let's see. Tanya says, at Taylor, yes, nothing serious. I do this with my partner. Today you will see someone with a bright red shirt on the train, as an example. Jennifer S. says, I've had recurring dreams about floods for decades. Well, I've had dreams about water and stuff. My mom did too, and so has my daughter. And sometimes I think that, with my daughter, I know that she drowned in another life that I remembered, and she sort of remembers something about her fear of water. So sometimes it can be something like that, but other times it's like, water can represent the unconscious or the human, all of awareness is unconscious kind of thing, and we're being flooded with new experiences and new ideas, or, yeah. I had a dream a while back where it was a pun, or I guess, that the phrase, cutting off your nose to spite your face. I had a woman in a dream who'd cut off her nose and had stuck it back on, and I could see the line of her nose down there. And I woke up from that, and I'm like, okay, I got to be careful that I'm not doing something to cut off my own nose to spite my face, make things worse or whatever. So dreams can be pretty entertaining. So, Jonathan says, 100% Christ is coming back next Tuesday, so there's no point in doing anything today. Yep, that's it. Canary says, I don't have to worry about work. I work for Jesus, and he is in control of my everything, there isn't a point of my trying. Yeah. Those are the attitudes we were talking about, the whole notion of not needing to take care of this place. Very different from, the Native American viewpoint of the seventh generation, that what you do now affects 7 generations ahead of you. So if you're going to do something to the land or to the, the food source or what have you, you have to think forward and make sure that means you're not destroying something for your future generations, which is a different way of thinking. Here, it's more like, can I make more money today and in the next year or so, and the more money I make, the better, as if that's going to do anything for the planet of any kind. It's like...
Generally, the lack of reincarnation in American religion is definitely part of it. If you think you might be reincarnated, if nothing else, you might at least protect it to help your future self.
Maybe.
If you don't care about your kids or anything else.
Yeah, well, there's no matter what the philosophy or the mindset is, the people that are nefarious individuals will find a way to make it work for them and against the rest of us. I've seen that happen. So Jonathan says, Canary, yep, interestingly, the same dynamic also plays in the belief in reincarnation. It's fine. I get infinite chances. I'll be better next time.
Yeah.
That's one of the things.
Personally run across, but it makes sense, yeah.
Well, and I ran across that.
People don't want to take responsibility. They'll come up with some excuse.
Exactly. And of course, I ran across that thing where I'm helping somebody by doing something terrible to them so that they can, like, free their karmic debt for their future lives. It's just like, that's the problem with just rational logic, using that as the only method for deciding what to do, because it can lead to that kind of stuff rather easily. And that's the reason why the heart is so important with everything that we do. If it doesn't feel right, regardless of whether somebody's trying to talk you into doing it in a mental construct, if it doesn't feel right in here, then there's something wrong with it, and you should always follow that feeling, because the heart knows better. The true heart. Writer says, hopefully it will be the end of those who believe in that poop. Well, I have this desire, this wish, this hope that it will happen, like they'll disappear and they'll get their own Earth, and we'll have like an alternate Earth where we can live and try our own thing out and see how it works. It would be nice. I don't know. Canary says that John O. Yep, but with that attitude, they will never do better.
Maybe we should start our own island of enlightened people. Of course, isn't that what Findhorn was supposed to be?
Well, Findhorn was a group of people working with the nature spirits and communicating directly with with like the intelligences of the plant.
That's not the. I'm thinking of the wrong one then. I got the wrong word, so I can't.
That's okay.
I can't tell you since I can't remember what it is.
Hey, I'm sure there's lots of them out there where they started.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a lot who pretend that they are. When I die, I will have control over myself wherever I am. In my dreams, even if I am aware that I'm dreaming, I tend to go with the dynamic of the situation. I hope this makes sense. Yes, I think that makes sense. You're being yourself no matter what circumstances there are. So you bring your true self with you wherever you go, whether that's in your dreams or in your life or somewhere else. Jonathan says, Canary, that's exactly right. Ian must correct me, but I think that is called thamus in the Gita.
Yeah, it's basically a tamas. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but yes, it's the function of the equivalent of the earth element. You know, it's slowing, it makes things harder and more difficult. It's very earthy and thick type of. I can't think of the words I want right now because my cramps are bothering me too much. But yes, that is. Yeah, that's the. And then sattva is the expanding aspect. But anyway.
Okay, so Canary says, one of the Christians that talks God to me came up to me and asked to have a look at my new cards I just bought. Then asked to have a card pulled and said she likes astrology. And I was, what the F? Yeah. Well, you know, what do they call that? Mental gymnastics. They accept what they want, they like what they want to like, and then they ignore the potential conflicts that might exist between one worldview that they hold and another.
Veiling.
Veiling?
I was trying to find.
Veiling was the word for them.
Veiling substance. It veils reality from you and gets you focused more on the material world and things like that.
Ah. So Canary says, I did pull a card to see how she would react. She was the, oh my God, it's so me. I'm lost. Well, you know, we're all a mix of all kinds of things. And contradictions is one of the biggest things, apparently, that most people have. Very few people are actually integrated and not full of contradictions, self-contradictions. And it's almost like they have these little cubby holes that they stick things in. And if they're in this cubby hole, they don't see all the other ones that they have. So they only process from this point of view. Then when they're in another one, they don't remember the first one, you know. It's just kind of...
It's amazing. I've seen so many people do that.
Cognitive dissonance. Yes, yep. Very well. Good word. It is. And she says, I'm still going to hell no. Yeah, so we all have different facets to our personality and experiences in our life. And, you know, that is one of the things that makes us interesting to me. And so, you know, but if you can find out what your core is, the central thing that brings all of those things together from which you're always acting, then you're authentic no matter what you're doing. And I sort of think of it like, you know, if my personality or spirit or whatever is like a faceted gemstone of some kind, if I can stay in the center of that and look out the different facets, then everything is connected within me from that same point. And so then there's no, you know, I'm not going to like act out insanely in a situation if I'm in that place. It's going to still be me. And then no one can throw me off of it because I know who I am. Canary says, if that's not the problem she had with me, why the harassment? Who knows? People just get weird thoughts in their heads, and some of them are so ungrounded, uncentered, and unaware of their own stuff, they have no clue what they're doing or why they're doing it anyway. I mean, right now, you know, one of my daughter's friends, she has zero boundaries. She doesn't understand the concept of boundaries. She is thinking she's helping, and she's not, and you can't explain anything to her because she doesn't actually stop and listen. She can't hear what's being said, so... Oh, that's right. So Taylor was wondering if there were any games that could could be played that would let them know what kind of psychic abilities, natural abilities they might have. And you were not here, and I said that we would talk about that when you came back in to see. Anything type of game, really.
I honestly can't think of much along those lines. You might try some tarot divination or something. I can't think of anything.
Well, doing the tarot could be identified as like a game, I guess.
Energy games, like you stand around in a circle and one person will be in the middle, and someone will send energy at them, and they'll see if they'll be like blindfolded and see if they can point where the energy's coming from, or that kind of thing. Trying to sense each other's energy and stuff. I can't think of any good ones though, really.
There's other things too, like the I Ching, which is a divination game, as well as tarot, which might help. What is this? Canary says, I know someone like that. What is this? Writer says, had a ribbon reading once, was interesting. She had a wooden hoop with so many types of colors and ribbons. She would be drawn to 5 different types and allow you to pick one and do a reading. That was probably a tool that she used to be able to short-circuit her conscious mind that didn't think she could do it without it. You can use almost anything to be able to do that if you can find a way to convince your subconscious that this is how it works.
Pendulum.
Yep. Canary says at Taylor you can find YouTube videos where you try to pick the right object and such. Nisha says, hello, dear ones. On my lunch break, tuned in during an interesting part of the conversation on cognitive dissonance. Be well all. Happy work environment. Jonathan says at Taylor, it's a good question, but I think the definition of games might stop some great answers. I have a lot of fun with tarot, pendulum, spotting synchronicities, etc. Taylor says, the game. Ah, I understand now. Thank you all. I see. Okay, good. We don't know what we said, but we're happy. Whatever that is. Whatever happens, it's yay. So, does people have plans for Llamas for next week? I wonder, since it's coming up. Canary says, I hate my pendulum. No, I don't use mine. I have one, but I don't use it for much.
Mine will work if I use it right away. If I try to ask it 3 or 4 questions, though, then it'll just go off and do whatever I want it to do. So if I can ask an answer, get an answer or 2 right away, but then it stops working for me. One of my particular problems.
Yeah, well, we all have strengths and weaknesses. Jonathan says, Canary, with that attitude, can you blame it? What attitude? Guess I'm lost on that part.
No, see, it's about Canary. Canary says, I hate my pendulum. He says, Canary.
Oh, I see.
Can you blame it?
Okay, gotcha.
The pendulum. Yeah.
Yeah, the pendulum doesn't like being hated. Okay, gotcha. I totally get it now. Canary says, Spirit Incarnate says, I love all 6 of my pendulums. And Taylor says, when I was younger. Canary says, once someone else asked if it didn't work for me because it didn't like me. And it says yes. Maybe it didn't like you because you didn't like it. Or maybe the pendulum started it.
Yep.
The pendulum started it. All right. It's the pendulum's fault. Tanya says, it's really hard for me to use a pendulum while being unbiased, so I don't tell it how I want it to answer.
That's exactly my problem. Once I've handled it for a little bit of time, but I found for me, it actually seems to help a lot by using a silk thread on the pendulum, so I don't influence it nearly as much. For myself, that does work and help.
So this was just sort of funny since my granddaughter's going to be moving in. And I was talking to her like the other night when she was over here when we got her bed and everything set up. I was giving her the down low on the fairies that are in the house who may come to visit her so she would know what they were and what smells they had and everything else. So it'll be interesting actually to see when she moves in if they go check her out, which I suspect that they will since she's my granddaughter. And I think that her spirit animal, she hasn't seen it in a long time, but it visits me occasionally. She's seen it since she was little and then has lost the ability to see it at this point. And I'm hoping that'll come back when she's here in a calm environment and in a place where it's okay.
So
I don't think the color of silk matters, do you?
not really, but I don't see why you couldn't align it with things. I picked violet because that's the Akashic color,
right,
which is going to probably be the most effective for the purpose of finding out things that I don't know. But other than that, if you wanted to find out something elemental or something like that, you could use a red for it, or red for Mars, or whatever you're trying to scry, really, if you wanted. But black and white and violet are pretty much universal colors, so they'll work for general purpose.
True.
Not that it makes much difference, really, what color the string is, but I prefer to line everything up like that myself.
Ryder says, granddaughter moving in sounds fun. Yes, hopefully it will be really good for her. She's coming from a place where there was a lot of violence, shootings, and all kinds of things going on. So she has been on high alert for a while because of that, and then the interpersonal stuff that she was having as well, and whatnot. So this being in a stable, calm, relaxing, and non-judgmental environment where she can talk or not talk depending on how she feels without anybody getting upset with it is just perfect, I think, for what she's going through. And that's the thing, it's like...
Just give her a break from the bad environment so she knows what it's like to have one.
Well, I was thinking about how I think so differently from other people, and I notice that when they're worried about something that they're doing or not doing that they think I'm going to be offended by. So just the other day, I was sitting in my office waiting for my next client. I think it might have been actually yesterday morning when I went in. The chiropractor's wife, who works in the office out there, came in to talk to me. And she wanted to make sure that I understood that when I walked in the door and I said, hey, it's me, and she didn't respond, that she wasn't trying to ignore me or, put me off or whatever, but she was just focused on, trying to figure out how to do an insurance billing or looking at something or dealing with something else. And I'm like, it never dawned on me to feel offended if someone didn't respond back. And I told her, I says, I'm just coming in and letting you know it's me so you don't have to worry about the fact that I'm in the building. You know that I'm here, and you don't have to worry about whether or not I'm going to wash my hands because I can take care of that myself because of the COVID protocols. So it was just one of those real-world examples of how that happens where people are expecting other people to be upset with them over something that it doesn't compute to me because I'm not taking things personally or looking for them or whatever. But anyway, yeah. So Taylor says, dumb question, what would humans be a spirit animal? What humans would be a spirit animal? Maybe I'm overthinking the idea since I'm an animal too.
Would
humans be a spirit animal? Well, a human spirit could be a spirit guide. They would call it that rather than a spirit animal, as far as terminology is concerned. So yeah, you can certainly have human spirits that are there to help out, and spirit animals or power animals or whatever are there for other reasons. Sometimes to help out, sometimes to protect. It's sort of like a crossover type of thing. Tanya says, oh no, what trauma? She is going to have some PTSD.
Ashley.
Yes, Ashley. She has it already from some events that took place before all this other stuff. So yeah. So there's definitely she needs a calm center to be able to process. Canary says, once I saw a fairy clear as day, then I haven't heard or seen anything since. Any ideas? Well, my opinion on it is they're on their own timetable. They decide when they want to interact and who they want to interact with. Not to read anything into it.
But you can be more or less sensitive to them, and I know that we have one place we used to go to on vacation, a cabin where I would usually see things there, but I never see anything anyplace else. It had something to do with that particular spot. For me, it's a power spot, apparently, so.
It is.
Yeah.
Jessica says, I have finally managed to make a live. Yay! It only took me 4 months. Well, congratulations and welcome. Ryder says at Canary, your pendulum made its invisibility cloak short out. That poor pendulum's getting blamed for everything now. Jonathan says, welcome, Jessica. Canary says at Ryder, I wouldn't put it past it. Taylor says, is the idea of spirit animals similar to guardian angels?
And that's a whole big, I'll let you answer that, but that's a big area for a question.
Well, yeah, I mean, not everyone has guardian angels. I mean, in my experience, sometimes people have, like, former family that act as their guardians. So people who are into ancestor worship and stuff like that, those families tend to have family members that have died from the past who come back to act as guides and to assist. And then other people have guardian angels, usually one. A few of us have two. I have two for some reason, I don't know why, but they've always been around me, and I've only been in a couple of situations where I've seen someone else that's also had two. So it could be just because of the trauma of my childhood and everything else that they thought I needed extra
help. But
help.
generally, referred to beings using that term, they're more humanistic, supposedly, except when you're talking about some of the use of Crowley and the Western Hermetics, who seem to have considered a Kabbalistic progress as being your guardian angel, and I don't think they're quite the same thing. What Crowley considered it was when you reach the path of Daleth on the Tree of Life, which isn't going to make sense to a lot of people, but that's okay, different subject, sorry. But that your guardian angel comes to you and meets you, but he's talking about what happens when your third eye is activated, which is considered your contact with a primordial guru. So you have a teacher and a guru right there. And Crowley was calling that the guardian angel, and I've come to the conclusion that the guardian angel is actually a separate being from a separate sphere, separate from the Kabbalistic happening that brings enlightenment into you.
Yeah, and spirit animals and totem animals are two different things. A totem animal, as a defined thing, is basically an animal that represents a core part of your personality, and that's a Native American kind of term. And if I had a totem animal, it would be the deer.
For me, mine is the coyote. Coyote came up and told me so himself.
Yeah. And so, and then there's some traditions where you have an animal in each chakra, so each part of your development might express itself as a different kind of spirit or totem animal. My spirit animals that I have, my totem animals are like the deer and the bear, and then my spirit animals are the bear and not a panther, black panther, and they are different. You know, it's like they're sort of more of a thought form connection thing that you can get, and you know, they're guardian types. I can usually tell if something's going on the other planes that might be of concern to me when I go to bed. If all of a sudden I have a panther that is like pacing back and forth and growling, and a bear that's like moving around, and it's like, okay, something's up. And it's been useful in some of my workings, like when I was working with my astral temple, and I decided to try and go into the tree in the north, and I wanted to go down the roots, and I started descending down into the roots. The panther actually stepped in front of me and blocked my path to indicate that this was not the time to do that. And so I'm like, okay. So I stopped and turned around and went back up. So, you know, humans with our languages, we always like to try and stick things in boxes and try to define them. And sometimes they sort of cross each other, and we might be talking about the same thing using different words. It's like
I've been told that my animals are aspects of my guardian angel to get through to the animal parts of me that can't be reached through speech and such. Yeah, I don't communicate well, so I wasn't sure if that was accurate or not, but that's more or less what has been indicated to me.
Let me go back up here before I forget.
And yeah, I'd recommend Barden's method, and that being is reached through the zone girdling the earth. So when you're talking guardian angel in Barden's aspect, it's basically a being of the zone girdling the earth who will be a guru for you.
So I had to go back up to Canary because she says, yeah, I have an angel because my family members past and present sucks. This is what I've actually been told by a human guide. Yeah. And we answered could a totem animal guide because they are different from spirit animal guides. Both interesting though. And Stardust says, what is the best way to meet your guardian angel or your spirit guide animal? Meditation.
And do use the silk string on the pendulum for that one, Jonathan. That's my suggestion.
When I came, interestingly enough, I was at one of the medicine wheel weekends, one of the 4 years I went, and someone was doing a guided meditation to meet your animals. And when we started it, I was riding the bear, and the deer was next to me, and then there was a coyote behind me. And now, of course, since Ian and I have gotten together, I understand that coyote came around to sort of prepare me in some way as sort of like a pre-shadow of that. And I've had encounters with coyotes in the wild, so it's been pretty interesting. So, yeah, you already answered Jonathan's question.
The spirit guide animals aren't straight animals, so they can talk to you, like in human voice at times. At least one of mine can. So the spirit aspect in general with connection to those, like for coyote, it's like that idea of survival and scavenging, and he's got claws and teeth and he can protect you, so it's all that. He's my totem animal because he's at the root and he helps with my survival and existence. But it's not really, I don't have the conception that I'm dealing with an actual animal. It appears as a spirit animal because it has the qualities of those animals. But keep in mind they're not, you can't expect them to act exactly like an animal would.
Right, because they're more of an intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah. Taylor says, why do we have these spirits? Why are they here? Or why do they anything? Just find this interesting that they are concerned with us, because they're not actual animals, and they represent different parts of our psyche and our place in the world. If you were in a Native American tribal environment, for example, everyone is connected in a tribe. Everybody, works together, and there's not much in the way of alone time. And the idea of going on a spirit quest, a vision walk, vision quest, whatever, is to find out what your path to help the tribe is. That's yours alone to find out. And finding out what your animal guide is part of that process. And depending on what animal comes to you when you're doing a vision quest, it tells the shaman or medicine person what qualities you have that the tribe needs and that you can expand upon. And, there's different interpretations for that depending on what tribe you're a member of and that kind of thing. So it's like telepathy and and communication with the spirit world is done through symbolism and visual and auditory kind of stuff, not through words. And so, this gives you more of a feeling, an expression of what's going on than, an intellectual conversation with some kind of a force or being, because we are part animal too. So Stardust says, I feel my spirit animal would be some kind of feline, but I'm not sure. I've never had any confirmation. Well, you never know, because you can have some and adopt them and then have others that come through later.
Mine ended up actually coming to me when I was meditating and introducing themselves to me one by one, and I don't really know what triggered it because it wasn't anything I was focusing on at the time. It just kind of happened.
So Desideradum wants to know about tulpas. I don't know anything about tulpas.
I remember the term, but I don't remember what it means even. So
yeah.
That's a Tibetan thing, I think. But
Jessica says, my mom and I both have experiences with some level of regularity, but neither of us are particularly sure who we're seeing interacting with a lot of the time. Yeah, well, John says, thank you, Ian. Tanya says, there is a wooden lamp post that when I stare at it at night, I see a deer and a wolf one above the other in the grain of the wood. If it isn't carved in it. Would this be a reputational totem pole? Well, it might be a representation of animals that you're connecting with, but totem poles are like family crests and all sorts of other things, so probably not that. Tamara says, could you tell us more about your Atlantis or what it was like? Well, what I can remember is not very much at this point. There was a lot of lightning. I remember a lot of lightning. I remember going to Egypt before it sunk. And the Nile Valley was jungle and green, and then later finding out that indeed in the past that was the case. But, it's like, I don't really focus on that much anymore. I met someone from there which brought it to the surface, and so for a while I remembered some weird things. He was my brother and in that life, and we were a couple in that life. And we were like two halves of a battery or a conduit or something, and there were certain positions we put our bodies in. If we touched in certain ways or whatever, different energies would come out, and we could call energies from the sky, but that was pretty much it. But I don't have like detailed memories of that, just sort of those, because I'm not doing that stuff here now, I guess.
And somebody asked about so how they revealed themselves. To me, I could coyote. Well, I started having these images when I was meditating. And the first one is this big white horse coming up to me and sniffing me and then like wandering away. And it's like, what was that about? I don't know horses. I don't know anything about them. Why was it there? And then coyote came right back up afterwards and examined me for a little bit, then told me he was my totem. And then he has appeared once or twice doing some interesting things, like I was meditating and all of a sudden I started hearing barking all around me, like three-dimensional but not physically real, astrally, just barking like tons and tons of dogs, so much so that it distracted me from my meditation. I thought, why am I hearing all this barking in the astral? And it was coyote making his entrance. He thought that was funny, to make hundreds of dog barking noises all over the place.
He has a sense of humor.
So, yeah, at least the one associated with me. And then I asked him a question, and I was shocked when he turned into a human being. A very strange looking one. Give you an odd feeling. But anyway.
Okay,
I
so
hope that's not something I shouldn't have said much about.
well, Taylor says, I've had dreams related, mostly wolf, dog, a little big of a lion look too. Ruth says hi. Everyone says hi to Ruth. A tulpa is a servitor, like a golem.
Oh, okay.
Okay. A person being made by magic is the question from the writer. Taylor says a little bit of... Oh, a little bit of a lion look too. I see. She's correcting that. Created by magic.
I like them, my precious.
Sorry. Am I late? It's too early for this. Am I late? That's ironic. They name themselves too early, but they're worried that they're late. Okay. No, you're not too late. We're still here. Desiranum says, yep, a thought form that is made sentient by a magician and given tasks. So sort of like an elemental is what we would call that.
Yeah, basically the only aspect of those I'm familiar with is what Barden mentions in his books, in the Initiation into Hermetics, how to create them. Otherwise, I don't know much about other pantheons and how they use them. I'm sure they do something similar. I know they do something similar in Tibet and India also, but I'm not familiar with those particular aspects since that hasn't been something I've focused on at all.
Yeah, according to Barden, if you're going to create one, you also have to create a death date for it. So that should it come out of your control and you lose track of it or whatever, then it dissipates instead of turning into a potentially semi-sentient spirit being looking for something to do to fulfill its mission that it doesn't know what it is. So, so there's certainly, if you're going to create something like that, there are definite responsibilities that you're taking on. in all the other cultures too, like in Santeria and Budan and so forth, making a house for a deity to sit in, or a spirit house for some spirit being, you are taking on a certain role and responsibility, and it's not something to be done lightly.
You have to feed them on a regular basis and pay attention to their particular things, or they might come back and come after you. And it's really the same thing with an elemental. If you were to make one of that sort and then just ignore it, which you wouldn't want to do anyway, but what happens is apparently they end up vampirizing people, or the person who created them, or if that person is too powerful, or they find somebody they can vampirize. At least that's in what Barton indicates in his book.
Okay, so it's too early for this. Says, I live in the UK and I'm going to Cornwall next week. Land of the Fairies. Okay.
Probably a lane of the fairies too.
I thought there would be also a lane. Cool. I hope you see one. Jonathan says, Siofra Ian, have you ever employed an elemental, egregore, or servitor? The answer is yes.
Yeah, I made a air elemental once, and you have to watch out.
Excuse me.
You have to watch out, because the last one I made, I tried making an earth elemental, and I found out they don't communicate very well, if at all, which actually is appropriate for the earth element, so I'm not surprised. The air elemental that I made once was just to, it was an experiment to just warn me of danger, basically, and it worked really well. It eventually dissipated, and I'm not sure why. I didn't charge it right or something, but...
Is that the one that warned you about your rip in your pants?
Which was funny. It warned me I had a rip in the back of my pants. I didn't understand why it kept hovering around my left butt cheek.
It's trying to do its job.
And it would show up mentally, but yes, if you want to communicate with the thing, air elementals much better at communicating. So yeah, it's just stuff like that. I haven't really done anything serious with them.
So if you're going to go to a place where you expect fairies are going to be, the best time to try and encounter them would be either at dawn or dusk. Just at twilight, either in the beginning or at the end of the day. That's when I've encountered them out in the middle of nowhere. I personally smell mint when they're around, whether there's any mint plants in the area or not. Just kind of interesting, since the other ones smell like lavender, amber, and vanilla, so I guess they can smell like anything they want. But people ask a lot of times that there's things to watch out for with that. I've never had to worry about it though myself. Desidratum says, no plans to make any tulpas, no worries. I wonder if they might be what shadow people are. I don't know. I think shadow people are like in a category of their own, but who knows?
Of course, you could make one look like a shadow person if you wanted to. So, there's that possibility.
Yeah, Jonathan says, Earth Elemental was the silent type, makes sense and hilarious at the same time. I think Barden suggests giving them time limits to stop them snowballing into something bad.
Death dates, yeah.
That's the death date. Yeah. You give them a name, you give them a death date, and a specific death date. It can be either a specific day, time, year, and stuff, or it can be when I don't have this with me anymore, or if I lose this.
Yes, if you lose it, or if you die before it's...
If you die, it dies with you.
You can set all kinds of... But if you set some kind of a time limit, that also helps it apparently materialize better as far as actually being effective also.
Yep. It is kind of interesting. I think I have both an earth and an air elemental right now that I'm not doing much with. The earth elemental that we made was to help warn us about danger, and when we first made it, it was telling me about everything that could possibly go wrong all night long. There could be an earthquake, there could be a flood, there could be people on the other side of the planet that are having a bad day. It was like, no. I need things that are more immediate, things that might get to me like now, not some potential thing. So yeah, that sort of was a little bit,
Mine just wouldn't say anything.
So Desert Rodham says, any idea what shadow people are? Hard to categorize. Well, yes, they are hard to categorize, and I don't know for sure what they are, except that they are black, and sometimes they take over like the astral shell of a person who died, and sort of use that as, like, I don't know,
Masquerade.
a vessel or something like that to carry, to carry around with, overshadow them. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they seem to be inimical to people and cause trouble. But there's a lot of times they just sort of seem to be there and watching. Who knows? Maybe there's some kind of weird spirit being from another dimension that we're not that familiar with. Gary Plano says, I don't know what, a red arrow. So, hello, Gary. Writer says, laugh out loud. Yes, and crying and laughing at the same time. I'm laughing at your elemental telling you about the danger of everything. Yes, well, that's the thing that I find fascinating by this.
You have to define what you mean by danger when you make them.
Well, not only that, but the fact that the responses that I get are not anything I would have predicted. So that makes it more likely to have been a real thing if it's not something I ever would expect.
Well, in mine that I made to warn me of danger, the air elemental, it took me a while to figure out. It was warning me I had a rip in the back of my pants, and I wouldn't have considered that danger myself, but it would have been embarrassing.
Yeah, I was like, you don't understand, there's a hole back here. Warning, air is getting in. Wrong places.
So yeah, it was all kind of funny because you don't think about that kind of thing when you say danger, what constitutes danger.
Well, I'm only an air elemental, what do I know?
I think a lot of that when you're making them relates to the feelings you're having when you make them and things like that. It all gets put in there, so to a certain extent how they come out are individual.
Yep. Hey, we got 27 people up there.
Awesome.
Looks like it's too early for this. Thinks that's pretty funny too. Yeah, we also think it's funny. Having a sense of humor is rather important with this work. The people who take themselves too seriously, if they're all pompous and like, oh, I'm so powerful and stuff like that, then, turn around and walk away.
Yeah, we've seen a few of those too.
Oh my God, some of those videos. Oh
yes.
My. Some of those people, you just go like, really?
Really fairly well-known and famous Western magicians is what Menora's referring to.
Yes, he was a little bit of a pompous.
Most of them don't have that though, but there are a few.
Jonathan says, do you think it's possible to be precise enough to avoid that stuff? Well, maybe, but there's a good chance we're not going to get it all, and we'll always be surprised by something as we learn. It's too early for this, says, I agree. Writer says, it's cute. I wouldn't want to set a death date. Yeah, we'll see. That's our attachment.
Yeah, that's one of the things Barton warns you about too, is becoming attached to it, because that can happen, and then it becomes like a pet, and then it just, if you made them right and consecrated them right according to Barton's method, they become more and more powerful until the day they die, basically, because you charge them to do that. So if you keep one for years, it can set free some big effects, and a person could really become dependent on it so that they can't function so much without it anymore, and that's one of the things he warns about.
So Gary says, we've had some neat things happen since the healing circle. We think a fairy and some fairies and a frog. Cool. Someone was just telling me about their family of frogs that they have living under their porch. It's too early for this, as I had a stroke, so I'm a bit more relaxed. Ha. Well, I'm glad you're recovering, because recovering from health issues can be a challenge, especially things that are about communication. You're doing a great job there. You can type. That's awesome. So what kinds of things do you think related to the healing circle? Desideratum says, if I were to make a tulpa, it would probably be the sentient pot of petunias from Douglas Adams' book.
All right then.
All right. Writer says that Ian, thank you, it's most fascinating. He is like a walking encyclopedia of a lot of stuff. I guess both of us are. different things, but it's complementary.
Well, you've been doing it for so many years, you
Yeah.
know, that's what happens.
That's what happens. You have experiences, you absorb it. The Crow Caller says, what do you think about the witchcraft in Romania? I heard even the politicians are afraid of the witches there. I have no idea. I mean, you know...
I've read some about Brazil, but I know nothing about Romania.
I mean, people in general are afraid of witches everywhere if they believe that they could curse them or hex them or whatever. Not that most witches are into doing that because, you know, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort.
It's a lot of work.
But people are afraid of what they can't control or understand. And so witches definitely fall into that category. And, I mean, I don't know how many times it happens that when someone finds out you're a witch, their first response was, oh, you're not going to curse me, are you? Or turn me into a frog? It's like, well, is there a reason why I should? Jessica says there's a special on YouTube you can watch about the Romanian witches if you're interested. Okay, I might look into that and find out more about it. It's too early for this, says exactly. There's a lot of assumptions going on around there about everything. About everything, literally speaking. Stardust says laugh. Writer says in Romania they are still very strong believers in vampires, so their fear of the witches does not surprise me. Someone asked the other day why there were so few black animals left in the world. And of course, the reason for that is because of the witch burnings and the belief that black animals represented evil and were in league with the devil, and that witches used them as their familiars. And that meant not just cats, dogs, goats, rabbits. Any animal that was black was potentially going to be slaughtered in order to protect the people. So superstition is like a real dangerous path to fall into, because it stops people from using critical thinking faculties and determining what's actually going on, because they just fall into this.
And a lot of people don't even know they have superstitions. They just feel it as this fear that's just built in, and they run away.
So Violet says, I made friends with 2 crows. They stole my sage bundle.
Aww.
I set it out to peter out on smoke, and they grabbed it. It was quite funny and scary for a whole night until I saw no fire trucks come. Apparently, they thought you put it out there for them, and it looked interesting. So they said, "Ooh, look!" And Gary again says, "A red dot or arrow. I can't tell. I guess it's a red arrow." Violet says, "Now I chat with them, and they stare at me. Crows are amazing. I really like them a lot." And Violet says, "I have learned a ton today." It's too early for this, says black is for protection. Yeah. This is true. I talked to my mom this week, and my sister in Virginia has got these 2 very large ducks, and my mother's just sitting outside watching them talk to each other, and apparently they lay huge eggs. 1 egg is enough for a bunch of sandwiches. But she was having fun. And I think that's it. It's like, it's important to be able to get out of ourselves, out of our heads. So nature is one of the ways of doing that. Watching animals or interacting with animals and plants and stuff like that helps to get us out of ourselves and out of our whirling thingies in our head.
Yeah, it's one of those big things. That's why they used to take to the woods and things in India, the seekers and that, and go live in the woods by themselves just to get away from all the society stuff.
Yeah, well, there's certainly plenty of that. Tia Saletta says, I'm new here. I've spent a lot of time in Romania. They are still very superstitious culture, but it's a great country. Yeah, I certainly try not to make any judgments about other people's cultures if I can avoid it, because I'm not there and I don't know where everything is coming from. Desiderodum says, does it seem like there has been more paranormal activity recently than usual, or maybe we're just more aware of it because we all have smartphones and internet now? Yeah,
I think that's part of it.
I think it's probably more likely that, because there's always been supernatural activity, but the word of it was slow going in the older days. It's too early for this, Ian. I'd love to live out in the woods. Yeah. And Ryder says that Tia, beautiful country. Jessica says, I wish I could show you my garden. I've turned my tiny 8 by 4 foot balcony into the best space I've ever had. It's a tiny slice of nature, but it's my little green place to go. That
Awesome.
sounds wonderful. I love that. So that's a good thing. I like nature too. So we're going to have a bunny rabbit living with us, so that'll be interesting. And he's a little black bunny. So sounds like he really likes my granddaughter a lot. And so I'll get acquainted with the little guy. His name is Nibbler. So that should be interesting too. So we're coming up on our hour-and-a-half thing, although the first bit was trying to figure out what color I wanted to be today. So we can stay a little extra time. Jessica says, I love bunnies. Violet says, how long will they stay, do you know? My granddaughter, I don't know. We'll see what she needs. The idea is for her to reset, regroup, get a job, sort of get back in touch with herself, so it doesn't matter to me. It might just be for the summer until she goes back to school, to college, or whatever, but we'll see what happens. Tanya says, at Jessica, me too. I have a vegetable and flower garden on a 5 by 10 balcony. It makes me so happy to stare at it. It's too early for this. That I had a dream where I throw up a frog. What does it mean? You're hoping the frog will turn into a dragon? If you throw it up high enough in the air? I don't know. Frog and rain are often related to each other. You're trying to make it rain by throwing up a frog. Dreams are very specific to the people that have them, so you'll have to figure that one out. Ryder says, nice. I had a black bunny when I was a little girl. His name was Bert. Desideradum said, it would be great if you did a kitchen witchery video incorporating spells with cooking and baking. Oh, that sounds like a lot of work. It's too early for this laughs. Ha ha ha. Well, that's me and my quirky sense of humor. And I don't know what throwing up a frog would mean to me. Oh, I had a black rabbit named Zero. Oh, hey, we have a bunch of rabbit people. Awesome. I thought Nibbler was not maybe the best name for a rabbit.
The most imaginative, for sure.
Yeah. Gary says, please, happy full moon. We are new to live chat. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate that. And thank you for happy full moon. Jessica says, it's too early for this. Makes me think of the expression frog in your throat. Oh, that's true. Maybe there's a blockage you need to clear. Violet says, I just saw a picture of a frog inside a fish's mouth. Cottagewood says, just stop by to say hi and give a thumbs up. I live here in Kentucky in the Appalachians. Love the woods here. Well, it sounds wonderful. It's too early for this, says, I thought so. Ryder says it. Jonathan, that's what I thought. Jessica says, it's too early for this, either health-wise or spiritually, or even just words you need to find.
I see Jonathan caught that curling. I
Reference.
put up several moons and then a curling stone.
And Violet says, thank you for this time with you both. The animal chat was very good. Violet says, very helpful. All right. So I guess we probably should get going. I've managed... Hey, the wind just stopped. All of a sudden. For 2 seconds. It's going to start up again. All right.
Thank you all for attending, for sure, for being here and keeping us company and helping keep us entertained.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because we enjoy this.
We do. We enjoy this very much. So, okay, guys. Everybody have a good Lammas, and we'll see you probably, like, on it next week. Bye-bye.